I have to say, this is one of the happiest moments for a very long time, I have to say. Quite often I have to introduce persons and I have to read who they are and find out who they are. In the case of Andrea Wechsler, it's a very easy task because she spent, before she joined, if you look at her life before, she was actually elected for the European Parliament in last June. So she is a new member of the European Parliament. The most important part of her previous life she spent with our Max Planck Institute. So she was a postdoc at our institute, managed a very exciting program, a doctoral program, which had a focus both in economics and intellectual property. And for us, that was so delightful to hear that she was elected to the European Parliament, hoping, of course, that she will actually deal with the issues where we have an interest in. So then communication would be a very easy one. And I was even more delighted when I heard that you would join us for today. So I'm very much looking forward to your presentation. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, dear Professor Drexel, dear Benobila, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests. It's indeed a privilege to be here with you today at such a timely and, as we also heard, essential time for the SEP regulation with the topic on modernizing SEPs and licensing conferences. And as Josef Wechsler has said, it's exactly 20 years ago that we met in the Max Planck Institute. I remember it was also summer, and there was a summer party in the Max Planck Institute, and I had set my mind on intellectual property law and the Chinese legal system and the automotive and software and telecommunications industry. And then I sat at this summer party and I met another researcher and she was working on exactly the same topic. So my first days at the Max Planck Institute was a lot of despair, but now looking back, it's been a fantastic time. I really enjoyed working with you, and it's as if you always meet twice in life, and if it's IP that brings you together and SEPs that brings you together, so IP and SEP apparently unite. Now, having been an IP lawyer for many, many years and having worked in intellectual property law, of course, that's an area that's close to my heart, and I'm very privileged to now be in the European Parliament and to take the perspectives of the constituency, of the people, of the companies to the European level. As you're aware of, I haven't worked on that file, as this file was from the previous mandate. But being, of course, and having grown up in intellectual property law, this is, of course, a file that I follow with great interest and that I definitely have an eye on. Now, the topic of standard essential patents and their regulation is not merely a legal or economic discussion. It's a very critical matter of European competitiveness, innovation, and global leadership in technology. And as a newly elected member of the European Parliament, I see this as an opportunity. At this very essential moment in time where we go into the trilogue possibly for a balanced, forward-thinking discussion on how Europe promotes innovation while ensuring fairness and transparency in SEP licensing. And as you all know, Europe stands at a very pivotal moment. We've had the elections in the United States. We just heard about the Chinese and other markets that are strong in these areas. And we've had the Draghi report on competitiveness. So our continent, the European people, face significant challenges, including the need to invest in deep tech, semiconductors, next generation connectivity. I was at a space industry conference yesterday, so there's many areas that we need to focus on now. And these sectors, they all rely heavily on standardized technologies and thus on a functioning patent system. And looking at the data, it clearly shows that Europe is facing significant challenges regarding its innovation capacity and the patent filing. If you just take Germany, the country that we are from, it has fallen again 2 places in 2024 in the innovation ranking published by the federal agencies and is only ranked 12th globally. Likewise, if you look at the reports that highlight Europeans' R&D activities, we can see that they are still very much so concentrated in traditional industries, while investments in future-oriented sectors like AI remain very low. And so these sectoral imbalances that we see, that's the framework for the SEP regulation, and they could hurt Europe's long-term competitiveness. And we can also see this if you look into the areas of patent filings. They have decreased significantly over the past decade. If you see patent filings from Germany, for instance, going down from 19% to 13%. And a major cause for this is the shift away from traditional industries towards digital technologies, whereas European patent applications remain very weak in these up-and-coming technological sectors. So Europe's declining innovation capacity and decreasing patent filings in key technological fields and future technologies pose a serious challenge for European global competitiveness. So as Europeans, we must increase investment in emerging technologies, reduce regulatory burdens, and enhance funding for R&D. And so it's in this context that patents, in particular standard essential patents, play a key role in fostering innovation. They protect R&D investments, encourage technological advancements, and provide legal certainty. However, if not managed properly, they can also lead to inefficiencies, legal uncertainties, and barriers to market entry, especially for SMEs and startups. And it follows that strengthening the European IPs framework and technology standardization efforts will be crucial in maintaining technological leadership in the coming decades. And it's in this environment that the European Commission's proposal for a new SEP regulation now seeks to increase transparency, streamline licensing processes, and reduce litigation costs. But with any regulation, and everyone who's in the Brussels bubble can see the discussions going on with the competitiveness compass being published this week, the struggle lies between the delicate balance between encouraging innovation on the one hand side and avoiding market distortions on the other side. And so, as you all know, and that's why you're here today, there's been a significant debate that has been sparked on the SEP licensing, and that's what we are discussing here today. On the one hand, there's SEP holders that argue that stricter regulations could undermine incentives for R&D investments and weaken Europe's position in global standardization, and they emphasize that licensing revenues are crucial for continued innovation and warn against unnecessary bureaucracy that might disadvantage European firms in global competition. But on the other side, you've got the implementers, including many SMEs and IoT-based companies, that struggle with licensing conditions and high transaction costs. They welcome efforts to increase transparency and streamline FRAND negotiations, ensuring that SEP licensing does not become a bottleneck for market access and innovation. Now, the European Parliament's Committee on Legal Affairs has proposed amendments to the regulation, aiming to bridge the gap between these very competing interests. And while transparency and predictability and SEP licensings are widely supported, the specific mechanisms proposed, such as a mandatory aggregate royalty determination, remain highly controversial. So I'm sure you will be continuing to discuss these issues today. Our aim from the European Parliament is to foster a balanced, innovation-friendly and SEP framework. That means enhancing transparency without over-regulation, ensuring a fair and predictable licensing environment, supporting SME and market entrants, and align with global standards. To get back to the beginning of my short keynote and introduction, let me stress it again. The SEP regulation is not just about patents and licensing. It's about the future of European innovation. If we regulate and over-regulate, we risk discouraging investments in European R&D and losing ground to competitors in the US and Asia. And if we fail to address the inefficiencies, we risk creating barriers for SMEs and emerging industries. As a newly elected member of the European Parliament, I'm very much looking forward to the discussions today, to your views, and will make sure, with IP in my heart, to guide this discussion and to bring it back to Parliament and to a very fruitful discussion for the European people. Thank you very much.